everyone, and welcome to another educational Wednesday workshop presented by Ideal Traits. My name is Monica, and I am joined here with my coworker Trevor. Trevor, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm on the client success team, and I'm also on the retention team as well. I pretty much spend all my day talking to agents like you and helping making great job ads.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Trevor. We are super excited to be going over candidate engagement, what that means, and how to be effective throughout your hiring journey with keeping that in mind. As always, we do have a comment section that you can go ahead and utilize at any point throughout the presentation. If you would like to ask any questions, we'll be sure to answer those throughout. And you will also be sent an exclusive recording of today's webinar as well. So if you have to leave for whatever reason, no worries, an email recording will be sent to you. But excellent. What do you say that we go ahead and get started? So
Let's do it.
the one of the first main things that I wanted to talk about with candidate engagement, right? I know that if you've been a part of our previous webinars, we really go into like after they apply, how to keep them engaged, things like that. But understanding that candidate engagement really does start off with your job ad. And the reason being is because this is going to be your first message that they're receiving, right? Your first impression. And so often we see job ads that really don't properly convey what it is that you're offering, as well as telling us about you and your agency. What makes you different from the agency down the road? Or on the flip side, I mean, Trevor, what are a couple of examples that we've seen inside of like the responsibilities and requirements that might dissuade someone?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to the candidate engagement with the job ad, you have to keep in mind that your job ad is going to be referenced twice. One when they're looking at it and applying, and then two after they get sent that assessment and they're looking back and like, all right, do I want to take this? They're going to look at it again, and then they're really going to actually read it this time. They're going to sit down and be like, okay, is this something I want to spend, next 30 minutes taking an assessment over? So if you have, things that are prohibitive, if you have certain things in the requirement list that are, perhaps a bit more wanty and less requirement like if you say
Right.
2 years sales experience, all of a sudden now I'm like, okay, well, I've got 18 months of sales experience. This
Right.
isn't exactly what they're looking for. So we just want to reduce any friction for the first two times they look at the job ad, because then pretty much afterwards, once they've started the assessment, they're in the palm of your hands.
Exactly. They are now taking that next step on engaging with you and really putting in that best foot forward with taking that assessment and applying to your agency. Now, what I will also say is that it's so easy to, just try to rush through creating this job ad, right? Because I mean, I totally get it. You have an immediate hire and at the end of the day, getting a job ad out there in front of the right candidate is really your main goal. However, when rushing through creating this job ad, I just want to make sure that we're still asking the question of, do I have any questions after reading this, right? Reading it from a candidate's perspective instead of, the your perspective of, hey, we have a bunch of templates here. I can plug and play and I have a job ad up in under 2 minutes, right? That's really how fast a job ad could be created. But at the end of the day, am I getting information about you? Am I getting information about what makes your agency succeed or some of your past highlights, right? Another great example is going over that compensation inside of that job ad, right? So let's say if you have a base of, let's say, $50,000, and but for your scale you have 50 to $100,000, right? And that's all I see when going, when scrolling through your job ad, and then I see your templated description as well as that salary range. My first question is the 50 the base salary? Is it a 25 base salary? Is that how much the minimum I can expect with commission, right? These are different questions that at which could dissuade someone from engaging with your ad, right? And that is the overall goal, especially given how saturated this market is and your potential competition. That's something I always include when reaching out to agents is going on to Indeed, searching up your job title as well as the zip code just to see what that competition is like, right? Understanding that if there are over 100 ads out in your area, more than likely candidates have the option of all of these different ads, right? So making sure that yours is the most effective and communicative is going to be a very important first step. Now, Trevor, I kind of talked about a little bit about going over that salary. Do you have any of examples and
Yeah.
what you might tell candidates, or sorry, agents to better attract that to
Yeah,
candidates?
absolutely. I think what we're seeing a lot of successful agents come back with is right now is if you break down what that salary is versus expected or hopeful commission. Um, and you can do this in a couple different ways. The way we're seeing most successful right now is just simply in the job description, just, hey, are you a licensed veteran who's been in the industry for a couple of years? Great. You're going to make, 45 to 55,000 a year in base plus you should make 20 to 30 in commission expected. Of course, that's all, just we're putting numbers out there. But and then you could further it and say, are you looking to get into the insurance industry, or are you trying to get your feet wet in sales? Your base salary will be X to Y, and we think you'll make this much. And in doing so, you're going to start fostering that trust with the candidates a lot quicker, because you're not just putting numbers out there on the salary that say 50 to 100,000. They're saying, okay, this person's being honest with me. They're
Showing all
valuing
your
my time.
cards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think that's a big thing is, we're asking candidates to take a 30-minute long assessment. The best thing we can do for them is make sure that their time they feel is valued. So if we give them the best job ad that gives them the most pertinent information, that's going to go a lot of way. That's a lot of goodwill with the candidate, because now they're going to be like, okay, well, this looks a lot more, worth my time than the $50,000 to $100,000 job, because I don't know what that means. That could mean anything. This could be a 1099 position for all I know.
Exactly. And you bring up an amazing point too, because of the fact that if your ad is going over this and there are 15 other ads besides yours that don't, again, this is just another way to be competitive, right? You are laying all of your cards out on the table compared to just giving them a guesstimate as to what they can expect, right? Being transparent. So this way, the ball is in their court. You are essentially providing all the information you can. Think of all of the non conventional benefits that you can offer as well, to really, again, emphasize the unique opportunity that you have. And so, for example, just like a couple of things that we've heard of in the past is like we have some agents like after Memorial Day, right? They have summertime hours where they get out on Friday at 2 p.m. Or, one agent I talked to had an office dog, right? Like these are just unique things, again, to help distinguish your ad from your neighboring ad. And again, helping out with that candidate engagement, because these are key things that they are looking for. They are looking for salary transparency. They're not looking for clickbait ads, that again really leave them with questions because of the number of different opportunities that they have to apply to. So keeping that in mind, and then being able to really construct your job ad. So Trevor, I know that we've talked about in the past on a few webinars going over like the 3 C's. Like, do you
Mm-hmm.
mind like going over like what those are again for our agents so that way
Yeah.
just to resonate with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is they have to see the ad. So that's
Yes.
what we're helping with. We're putting your job ad to all the great job boards, Indeed, Monster, Glassdoor, ZipRecruiter. The next thing is they need to see that it's competitive. So they're going to look at the salary. They're going to, if it doesn't pay well, they're just going to scroll. And then
Right.
the final thing they're going to have to see is the content itself. Does this job ad look appealing? If I look at this and I read through the responsibilities, does this look like a nightmare to me? Is it just a whole page long of all right, and then this, and this. So it
Well,
really is.
like we talked about, like, overdoing it with the responsibilities and
Hmm.
requirements. When really inside of that, we talk about, let's say 9 times creating insurance quotes, right? Something along those lines. It's just we reworded differently, for 5 to 7 different bullet points. And it's like,
Hmm.
okay, I understand I will be cold calling, or I understand that this involves like, a little bit of marketing, whatever that might be. So just keeping that in mind, because again, from the candidate's perspective, we just don't want to overwhelm them with this content that we're being put in front of them. And you did make a good point as well as being seen. And that one, for the C, it's your campaign budget, right? So again, if you do have, let's say, 100 plus ads in your area, having a campaign budget may be something that you want to consider. We do easily offer to be able to sponsor your ad to get it in front of that right candidate, right? I like to think of it like Instagram when I keep seeing the same golfing, ads because I keep talking about golf or I'm searching golf, right? getting your ad in front of the right candidate that are looking within those search results so that way they have your opportunity that much sooner. So
Mhm.
that's definitely something to consider. But that is really what I have for the beginning aspect of before we even talk to the candidate on engaging with them, right? Having that effective job ad and thinking of those 3 C's when publishing this job ad. So, Trevor, was there anything else that you had wanted to add about, this pre-stage?
Well, I think it's important that you ask yourself what you are really looking for and being honest with yourself. Like a lot of agents will put in the requirement list, they'll put in their wish list essentially. They want this, that, and the other. And then, they'll get some resumes and some of them will be that, but most of them won't. And so you really need to understand what is acceptable to you because we don't want to turn away candidates because, you have 2 months sales experience as a requirement when if you would accept 1 year sales experience, why do we have two listed? So really ask
Right.
yourself, what do you require? Because the worst thing we can do is turn away candidates before we even talk to them just from having a wish list and not a requirement list.
Definitely, because at the end of the day, that list should be what is the bare minimum that they have to have in order to have a conversation with you.
Hmm.
Now, obviously, there are certain attributes that you can add in there, like Trevor says, like your wish list, like is preferred, or, bilingual is preferred, just a couple of different examples that might help, also show like different things that you're looking for as well. But at the end of the day, that requirements section really should be like the bare minimum that I am requiring for them to have a conversation with me. Because if not, if they don't have what is stated there, I'm going to send them to the archive folder with a
Hmm.
rejection email stating that they don't meet those, needs. And to keep in mind as well that especially with hiring experienced candidates, right? The number of candidates that have that license currently does not even come close to the number of candidates that do not have that license. I talk about this weekly just because emphasizing that 90% of agents that get, I'm guessing, about like 90% of agents that get into this industry typically come from referrals or, hey man, like I think that you should come work for me or I think that you would do great in the insurance industry, right? I don't know a lot of 5-year-olds that are running around saying, I want to be an insurance agent, right? I mean, it's a very interesting field, but it has so many benefits, right? So understanding that these candidates that are applying to your agency more than likely are trying to get into that field with understanding how lucrative it can be. So to understand that don't limit yourself, and limit that candidate engagement by having requirements that at the end of the day, like, yeah, well, I guess they really don't need that. Well, if I saw that as like, a requirement for the job ad, and if I don't have it, why would I apply?
Yeah.
Right. So that is definitely something to think about. And great point, Trevor. Excellent. So next up then, so now we've got over again the pre-stage of I have not even met this person, that candidate engagement, right? So next up, so now someone applies, right? What's the next step? So, in our previous webinar that we went over, we really talked about phone screens, like conducting effective phone interviews. And I would say that this is probably one of the best first steps that you could take, as well as utilizing our video interview feature. And if you would like to utilize that or get any more information about it, you can find it inside of our marketplace, as well as being able to chat us directly and asking for more information about it. But both of these will essentially give you an idea of what that candidate's tone is and how are they going to act on the spot. Now, let's be real. If I get a phone call from a number that is not saved in my phone, typically I do send it to voicemail. And it's just because I might be focusing on another task or, I might be busy, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, I don't know the number and I just can't commit to however long this conversation might be. Right. So understanding that perspective, and more than likely you've sent a number that you don't know to voicemail as well. So kind of understanding that with this candidate engagement, it will take time in developing that trust and establishing who you are. Right. So I bring up the phone interview just as an example because, right, even leaving them a quick voicemail. Hey there, my name is such Monica from Monica's insurance agency. I'm the owner here and I wanted to personally reach out to you and thank you for applying. We did send you over an assessment if you just wouldn't mind taking that. And then once I get the results back, I can further reach out about your status with our hiring journey. So as simple as that, right? You can shorten it, lengthen it up, whatever you would like. But again, having reaching out and just really going over the opportunity that you have, expressing what it is that you need them to do, which would be that assessment to see if they would be a good fit, right? But starting that off the bat, and instead of saying, well, they didn't take the assessment, all right, I'm done with them, or well, hey, like they never reached back out to me, right? You have so much information about them after they applied, like their email, where they applied from, when they applied from, right? Maybe they applied while they had another job and you're calling during their business hours. So many different factors could go into that hypothetical. But at the end of the day, you reaching out and you engaging with these candidates puts you at one more competitive step in front of the agency down the road that is like, hey, they didn't fill it out, or, I'm not reaching out to them if they don't reach back out to me, right? Understanding that it will take time as well as a little bit of effort in getting that right person in your office.
And
Now,
hiring is like it's like casting a net in the lake. I hear a lot of
yeah,
agents say like, "Oh, if they don't take my assessment, well, I don't want them. They don't, clearly they're not taking me seriously." Well, I would push back and just say it's like you set that job ad out there, they applied, they bit. It's your turn to start reeling them in. They did their part. So now it's your turn to call them. You want to email them. I know an agent who said he sends voice emails or video emails to everyone who applies. Like he literally sits down, films himself being like, "Hey, thanks so much for applying, or come take this assessment."
right.
Anything that you can do to reel that in, to get them to continue to follow through, and you should do it as quick as you can. They say the first 48 hours after a crime happens, that's when a crime is most likely to be solved. First 48 minutes after a candidate applies is your most successful opportunity to
hmm
get them to continue. Immediately call them up. Thank you so much for applying. Send them an email, send them a text,
That excitement
mail
that
them
I'm hearing as
something.
well, it's you can hear it, and then candidates really are what's the word I'm looking for? Receptive to that and understanding
Hmm.
like that they have value, especially given the hiring market that we are in. I mean, finding the right person, let alone, someone that has the requirements that you're looking for as well, it's taking time because again, the total number of agencies that are currently hiring right now, it's up there. So you do definitely have that competition and you just have to stand out as many ways as possible. And like Trevor mentioned, just a few examples of being able to reach out to them. Again, that video interview tool, you can easily just send them over, 3 to 5 or 1 to 5 questions, really just going over anything that you would like. If there's certain things that you would like to get to further know about them, but as easy as picking up their phone saying, hey there, my name's Monica, like I'm answering your question, whatever, right? And then you'll be sent those results and can easily review it there. But yes, engaging with them during that process is very important to keep them, you know, keep their mind engaged overall with what you're going through and your applicants as well. Now what I will say is that we're really speaking from the hypothetical of you're hiring locally. Now, what I will say on the flip side is let's say you're hiring remote, you're hiring throughout the entire United States. Monica, I've got over 100 applicants. I cannot call every single one and reach out to every single one if they don't do the assessment. And I would say to the fair point, you're not wrong. That would take a lot of time. And what our sales manager did here at Ideal Traits is we were hiring remote. And I think what we had like 300 applies, and very same thing. He did not want to reach out to every single individual and give them a phone call, but rather than he was able to limit that pool now to those that took the assessment, right? When you have like that wider, when you're fishing in that bigger ocean compared to a little pond down the road, right? Or even the little puddle out in my driveway right now, you then can narrow down those requirements even more. Okay, I'm only going to look at the ones that completed the assessment. Okay, now I'm only going to look at the ones that have the personality that I'm looking for. Okay, now let's take a look at their resumes and really compare and kind of go from there, right? Or whatever that process might be. But at the end of the day, just understanding that where you're fishing, it really does matter in regards to setting those limitations as well as kind of going over what route for engagement that you would like to take. Excellent. So next, now let's say after the application process, right? We always see this happen of Candidates apply, they go through the interview process, great, and then they just ghost. They just drop off, right? Now, Trevor, what would be something that you recommend to someone after they complete the interview process?
After they've completed the assessment, a phone screen, or even the video interview, you should still be just, again, just kind of holding their hand, if you will, proverbially, just letting them know what's going on. If you're saying, hey, I'm going to be interviewing a couple more people, I will get back to you on Thursday. If you're going to get this position, let them know, give them, if you can, give them a deadline or two, or at least let them know you'll follow up again. Be like, hey, I'll call you Thursday with more. Just let them know that they have something to look forward to, that you're going to continually reach out, and that this isn't it. Because if they think this might be it, like, oh man, I totally
I
bombed
bombed
that
that
interview.
interview,
There's
right?
no way they're calling me. I'm going to Bill Jones down the street to apply.
Hmm.
So if you just let them know, hey, you are going to hear back from me in any capacity, that's going to go a long ways, and hopefully will keep their idle hands from applying to 30 more jobs, while you're going through the process. Because that's the big
Definitely.
fear, is that they're going to jump back into the pond after we've reeled them out.
Exactly. And what I will say too is that another feature that you can utilize is the email templates that we have inside of our Ideal Traits account. If you would like to create your own custom ones for all of the different intricate steps that you have, you are more than welcome to do that. We have one specifically for rejection, for reminding them to take the assessment, as well as scheduling an interview. So even if there are certain ones, or like a similar email that you feel like you're constantly sending out, right? You can totally utilize that feature just to, again, engage with your candidates, making sure that they are in the know of where they're at. I mean, how often would it be that I would apply to a job and it's like, I never heard back from them? Like, I'm going to assume I didn't get the job. But again, that's now making me have the ball in my court of, I'm assuming I didn't get the job because I didn't hear anything back. I'm going to go apply to X amount of other jobs until I do find that right fit, or someone that is going to give me that respect that I know I deserve as
Hmm.
a candidate. And again, going back to the market that we are in, if it was a different market like we saw 5 years ago, where there was an influx of candidates, there were more candidates than there are job opportunities, right? I would totally state that it's a different hiring game. But this is what we're seeing with the hiring trends, as well as getting feedback from different candidates as to what they're looking for. But excellent. So that is really what I have for excuse me, the post interview process, right? And now going into the post hire. You officially sent the candidate the offer letter. Everything is good to go. You have their start date and all of that fun stuff. Do not stop communicating with them, right? I can't emphasize that enough, because there are times when even after you send that offer letter, right, candidates might still be able to see that and state, well, am I supposed to come into the office? Am I supposed to bring anything? What do I need? Like, I don't know, right? So I don't know if like you have an office manager. This is where you might be able to delegate that like a little bit farther down. But just to ensure that at which, hey, I am making sure, again, you have all the information. Your start date is this date, right? I'll expect you in the office at this time, at this date, in business casual, or whatever, your requirements are for all of those finer details, right? But again, still making sure that they have those expectations of, this is when we are expecting you. If you do have any questions, this is who you can reach out to, setting them up for success, so that way they do have someone to reach out to or to
Hmm.
engage with if needed.
Yeah, if they're not confident through, like, even after they apply, they'll totally just not show up the first day. If they're like, oh man, I don't know if I need this, that, or the other, they just won't show
We've
up.
seen
You'll
it
never hear
before
from
for sure. Exactly. And then to which our questions were, oh, okay, like, well, when did you reach out to them? I didn't. And it's like,
them
oh,
after they didn't show up.
okay, right, exactly. Or before, like, when was the last time that you reached out to him? Well, I mean, I sent him the offer letter. Okay, so let's ensure again that we are reaching out to our candidates, giving them the respect, as well as assuring that they give you that respect as well. And just making sure that you are putting in the most amount of effort from your perspective can definitely help eliminate, like Trevor said at the beginning, some of that friction that can get caused um, during this hiring process.
Stressful.
It is a very stressful process, especially for, our agents that are looking to hire, and for even potentially multiple roles, as well as candidates that do have all of these job opportunities in front of them. So just keeping that in mind and ensuring that they are someone that you are interested in, as well as, again, if they don't meet your requirements, if they are not someone that passed that interview process or that you would like to move forward to, don't be afraid to send out one of the rejection emails that we have, or even creating your own. You can customize the ones that are in there to really fit, the narrative that you would like to go down the route of letting them down in a nice professional way. Because yes, I will say that at the end of the day, they do have to be a fit for your agency. And making a bad hire, I mean, that's essentially why we were started, is being able to assess these candidates and determine what makes their personality beneficial to the role that you're looking to hire for, as well as being able to weed out the ones that, hey, like on pen and paper, like I love to sell, I love to cold call, I love to do all of this stuff. And then I get in the office and I'm like, I will make 5 phone calls a day. I actually am kind of laid back worker, right? Your personality really speaks and shows a lot of those internal attributes that are important, especially given how fast paced the insurance industry is.
Video interview tool's a good way to get to know that person pretty quickly too.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. And when we were first just demoing it out, um, it was like a really great feature. Again, just to be able to see the candidates, see them, how they're reacting, on the spot questions too. You can change the total number of questions as well as their number of attempts. So if you only want to give the candidate like one attempt and that's it, you can totally do that. Or you can increase it to a couple. Completely up to you, or whatever fits your hiring needs. And what I will say is that if you are, a first time user of it, we are still actually offering a 30-day free trial for using that feature. So if that is something that you would like to utilize for your hiring journey, I mean, feel free to reach out to us. So we'd be more than happy to get you that information as to what it is, as well as how to utilize it. But excellent. That is really all I had for going over candidate engagement. I'm not seeing any questions yet, but I will go ahead and open that up to anyone that would like to go over anything that we had discussed today, um, to, again, just better enhance your guys' hiring journey and get you guys more information. Let's see. Oh, I did get one from Gail. Monica, Kelly suggested that we add our culture to our ad. After you tweaked it, I received several qualified agent candidates. Thanks so much. Oh, that is so amazing to hear. And this really does go to show that the content inside of your ad is the first and foremost engagement that you have with that candidate. Because let's be real, if we have an ad that has a lot of questions, it's very cookie cutter, just again, used a template because it was convenient. I get it. I've, advised even some agents in the past throughout that. But as we see our hiring markets change, we have to be willing to adapt and, again, adding in those things about your culture that make you unique. Because at the end of the day, Gail, you had an opportunity that was unique and competitive. It just might have not, had, again, those things about your culture or your company culture or your benefits, your pay structure, different things, right? So that makes me so happy to hear that you were able to find those quality candidates after making those adjustments to your ad. And what I will say is that anyone on here, I mean, Trevor and I, we both work in client support too. So if you do ever want to chat in or schedule a phone call with either one of us, you can easily do so from the help tab at the very top of your menu bar inside of your Ideal Traits account. And then from there, you can request a support call, and you could either do first available depending as to your schedule, or you can do it directly onto Trevor or Mize or even my coworker Tracy's calendar to, again, ensure that you are being most proactive throughout this hiring journey. Because the last thing that we want you to feel like is that you're alone in this process, because this is what we specifically specialize in. And again, Gail, thank you so much for that statement, because it's always great to hear, agents being successful throughout their journey. And, it does work at the end of the day. It just takes time. And it does take, maybe some tweaks every here and there, or applying that sponsorship budget, conducting market research, a few different things. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're engaging with these candidates. That way they don't fall off, and we are not giving them a reason to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But
They want to
excellent.
see the job ad and they want to picture themselves working for you. So whatever
Exactly.
you can
And
do to
when you
make it
include
happen.
things of that company culture, I can now envision what it would be like to work there. I can picture all those things. I can imagine what I could be making as an entry level person or a top level performer. Like, how do I get there? What do I need to do to put in that work to, make 80 to 100 plus K a year, right? Going over that inside of your ad or just even showcasing that opportunity is very important. But I do just want to give a quick shout out to Trevor today for joining us. Thank you so much. We do always appreciate your input and, having guests on here just to go over again this hiring journey. It is really appreciative and I couldn't be happier to have you on here.
Of course, we got to help all these agents, right?
Yes, that is the spirit. So, hey, what I will say is that if there are any other questions, again, you can utilize your Ideal Traits account to either schedule a call or even chat. We are here from 8:30 to 5:30 Eastern time to help you out in any way that we can. But with that being said, that's all I have for today. And thank you guys so much for attending and hope that you guys have yourself an amazing rest of your week and happy hiring.